Space Marine has been on my backlog for quite a while, and I've finally beaten the game after around 15 hours, and I just think it is one of the most underrated games of this year. This game has it all, 8 freaking tall super soldiers who are there to do one thing: kill the Tyranids. This is a sequel to the first game, which was released nearly 13 years ago, as it does carry on the story of Titus as he is betrayed in the first game, but single-handedly manages to defeat a new invasion by the forces of chaos. Now, I've never played the first one, but despite that, I have really enjoyed this second game. And this is everything you want in a video game. And personally, I'm quite disappointed that it didn't make the list for Game of the Year, even though it is sold over 4.5 million copies. There are a few things that could be better and a few minor negatives that I found of the game, but despite those issues, I don't think you should miss out on this game. I'm just trying to work out how they managed to get a strong male lead in this game. Imagine if this was made by certain other companies.
Okay, let's hear this idea for this next game. Shoot.
A sequel to a beloved game made nearly 13 years ago involving an ever-growing intergalactic war.
I like it. I like it.
So you're an 8-foot tall walking tank, and you are bred to defend the Imperium.
This is
You
good.
are essentially bred for war to fight off the Tyranids.
This is good.
You play as Titus, this absolute beast of a man who is in the first game, who was betrayed but manages to beat another invasion by the forces of chaos.
Ooh. Okay, so is he white?
You're joking, right?
This is where us higher-ups come along, and we will help fix this game. Okay, so this is what we recommend. Take a look at this.
Put a tick in it, make her gay!
We don't want people thinking we're like racist or misogynistic or anything like that, you know?
It's kind of the same, but the other way round, no?
Of course no, it doesn't work like that.
Okay, I'm gonna leave.
Well, fine, I'll just do the story myself. Can we get the next person to come in?
Hello.
Nice, it's a chick. Okay. So, what do you identify as?
A woman?
Damn it! Just so damn close. For flip's sake, we can't get anyone nowadays.
Now, the game does a very good job to entice you at the start with this really cool cutscene that shows you are traveling to the world of Kadaku, as your mission is to drop this bomb to kill the Tyranids. Essentially, the first part of this mission is basically the tutorial as you play as Titus. He's basically known as one of the greatest heroes of the Ultramarines. And he is such a freaking badass, man. He's an 8-foot flipping soldier. Now, you realize your comrades died during this mission and you nearly die at the start of the game, or you practically do, and this is where the story begins. You wake up saved, and you are saved by Rubicon surgery. They basically remade it. And essentially, you are now a Primaris, which is basically the most advanced warriors. So now that you are an Ultramarine, again, your past has been deleted from file, as I believe you were demoted in the past. I really want to go back and find out what happened, and essentially you are given a second chance to prove to the Emperor your worth. So you are now stronger and faster.
My duty is my fate. My salvation is my reward.
And you meet your captain and your comrades, and they are all just a bunch of strong flipping testosterone.
What in damnation happened down there?
All of the voice actors and the acting from this game was just top notch. It was brilliant. So your mission is to defeat the Tyranids and perform a bunch of missions which you can do on your own, but you can also do with 2 other friends on co-op mode, which I haven't tried it. Now, because I don't know the story and kind of the backstory with this game, I was still interested in this story. I just wasn't following it as much just because I'm new to this, but that is where I need to read up on the lore of this, and when I do, I will play this game again. Now, each place you visit in the game exceeds in graphics and the world that they are trying to create. You can feel the sense of war and blood in this flipping universe. From when you are exploring these worlds, even though the majority of the cutscenes were very, very high quality, there were times that the in-game cutscenes, some of the character models, it's like they would get a little bit fuzzy. It was very weird, and I noticed this. Certain points, the graphics were amazing in terms of the cutscenes, and then there were times where their face or some of the characters would look like it's like PS3. Okay, maybe not PS3, PS4, but it just felt a little bit fuzzy, and I kind of noticed that. Now, funny enough, when I was actually looking back at the gameplay with some of these cutscenes, it didn't actually look that bad, but I remember at the time it did. I'm not sure what it was. I definitely noticed it, but then when I look back at the cutscenes, they don't actually look that bad. I thought I'd just mention that. Now, as you can play this game co-op, you essentially have your base where all the soldiers are, and it is very, very cool, and this is where you will gather for missions. This is where you can choose whether to go into multiplayer modes, and you also have the armory hall, which is badass. This is where you can change and see all of your current weapons, which there are a ton. You can change the look of your outfit and also your melee weapon. It gives you a breakdown of the stats of each weapon, which I will come to. Now, I only had one damn problem when I was going through the customization with the outfits. There was just this bright orange light for some reason. I've got no idea why. I know it's a bug, but it was just very weird. The way some of these games are working now, I am loving the game design. And I honestly think this is the future of games, because I know there was a time period where it was about open world, and they can get very, very boring. It's probably harder to make a fully open world game without making it repetitive. Games like Black Myth Wukong, I love it that it is more linear. It feels like open world because you have these zones, and this is no different because you go into these missions and the world feels massive. Even though it is linear, it looks so huge. It gives the game developers the ability to focus more on quality, and it just makes the game more fun. There are very few companies that can nail open world. You can't just sell a good looking open world game and expect us to like it.
Damn it, I blame the gamers.
When going into these missions, man, it was so epic. I really want to try it with friends because this is just so much fun. Like, you are an 8-foot flipping super soldier, and the developers made such a good job on making you feel like you are controlling an 8-foot soldier. That's the thing, because if you're 8 foot, you're gonna be a lot slower, and you are when controlling Titus. You are a lot slower. It doesn't feel too slow, but it feels like you can feel the heaviness of this soldier. You have your health bar, but also your armor bar on the top, and this will replenish naturally as you go along. And the AI comrades are actually not brain dead. The AI was actually brilliant. The two comrades I had fighting alongside me, when I did die, they would help me out instantly. Even when they were fighting, I felt like they were doing something. It didn't feel like I was just on my own. Unlike some games when you have flipping AI companies and they're just shooting a brick wall. And it's not until these Tyranids are coming at you that you are finally preparing, and you're like, oh my gosh. Yes, they need to climb up and create this mountain of Tyranids. This is where you can use your grenades, your guns to try and slow this down. And this fighting is simply epic. I freaking love the combat in this game. You have so many guns, which you do get a few, and I feel like there are much more to experience and unlock, but my favorite was by far the rifles because they were so quick, and I felt like that was the best strategy when it came to fighting these Tyranids because there were so many. I felt like the shotgun was just a bit too slow. I had to just go at it with the rifle. You have your shotguns, which probably my least favorite, but they still did damage at close, but I did make the effort to try out as many possible weapons, and at certain points throughout the game there will be like an armory section, and you can change your guns and your melee weapon. You have your block button, but more importantly your parry button. Your perfect parry will deal damage to your enemies, and I do love the way when you do get a perfect parry, there's like a finishing move when you're shooting through these enemies, and then you go up to the enemy and you'll press R3 and it'll just do this disgusting finishing move. There is so much action and the enemies are pretty much consistent, hence that they are the enemy, but I didn't find myself getting bored. Like, I could imagine this is what Gears of War felt like. I've never played Gears of War and I've always wanted to, but I feel like this is the feel of Gears of War. Like, there is so much action and there are no agendas in this game. This game makes you get onto your PS5 or whatever you're playing it on. You can actually escape the world's bullshit, because I go into this game and I forget about the whole world. I'm not being preached to about anything. I'm just having fun.
Oh my god, this is freaking epic, man. Look at the size, mate. Shit.
That's a bit of toxic masculinity.
That doesn't sound like you. Who put you up to that?
Well, he told me to say it.
Ah! Damn it, woman!
You will get different melee weapons too, which will have different feels and different perks like the power sword, the thunder hammer, the chainsword, the power fist, and combat knife, which is really, really quick. You can kind of suit your playstyle, and I did try out all of these. You just have to focus on trying out different weapons and see what works for you. I know sometimes I can like enjoy the rifle and I'm like, I just want to keep to that, but I try to kind of change my playthrough. In certain missions, you get an ability to glide up and hang in the air, which is so damn cool, and this gives you aerial advantage. I think this is one of my favorite abilities, and it's used to navigate certain levels. These abilities are predetermined because based off the level you are doing, you won't be able to use them. But I love the levels where you were hanging up in the air, you could shoot your enemies, you could also do a devastating flipping finisher. Like if there is quite a lot of enemies, you can jump up and then slam into the ground, which is crazy. There's one that feels like Kratos' Rage, where if you're low on health, it will fill up your health. It will increase for a certain amount of time. You do get some of these bigger boss fights with these certain enemies, and I just wish there was more of it because these were so freaking cool. There were a few of them, don't get me wrong, but these big Tyranids, I've forgotten the name of these enemies. This is where I could imagine with your friends and you're taking down these fat off enemies, and it can be super freaking hard. I just wish there was more of this. They were quite hard as well. I died a few times trying to recognize the attack patterns. When the red light happens on enemies' attacks, it obviously shows that you cannot parry and you have to dodge. I've only tried them online multiplayer a couple of times, but you can choose from 6 different classes, and as you play more and more with these weapons, you will get access to variants of that weapon, and all of those have their own stats and shared perk tree. There are also resources that you will need to upgrade your weapons. You can start the game with a single variant of each weapon type to use in operations mode. If you take that weapon into operations, you will start earning experience with it, and at the end of the mission, you will be told how much you have ranked it up, and when it's fully ranked, it will be considered to be mastered. This will earn you a mastery point, and the mastery point can be spent in the perk tree for that weapon archetype to unlock a perk, and then it will be applied to all of the variants that you end up using. That's what I kind of know so far in regards to the multiplayer. I do need to dive into more. I love that there is a story mode you can do on your own and with friends, and there is a dedicated multiplayer. I hate the way games have become where it's like multiplayer only, or if it's a dedicated story, they just fully focus on the campaign and they just don't include the multiplayer. Games like The Last of Us Part 1, it's like you take out the multiplayer. You were going to do that live service multiplayer. I miss the days where games did this. I reckon games are going to go back to this, seeing the failures of live service games. Now, I do believe Space Marine 2 deserves to be on that list for Game of the Year because it's just so much fun. There is so much replayability with the campaign, doing it with friends, the multiplayer, so many unlockable weapons and stats, and it's just so much in this game. Now, I know I would have loved this game so much more if I knew the backstory of Warhammer 40k, and that is why I do need to go back and see more about the first game, read up about the lore, because I just wasn't as invested with the story because of that. But it's crazy how the game still made me engage, and I was still just like having fun. Now, if you love Gears of War, I could imagine you would love this as well. And even Helldivers 2, I think I prefer at the moment Space Marine 2 to Helldivers 2, and I played that for a very long time. The combat feels similar to that. They're both very addictive, but I just feel like with the story mode with Space Marines 2, as someone who only really plays single player story games, there's more value in buying Space Marine 2 than there is Helldivers 2, just because I just haven't got back to Helldivers 2, even though it's an amazing game. For me, I would give this game around a 9 out of 10. Like, hopefully it does win some awards. What do you think about this review of Space Marine 2? What do you think about the game? Have you played it? Is it something on your backlog? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know. Well, let's take a look at the comment of the day from my previous video. You don't need a PS5 Pro because because I bought this. Shout out to Joseph Henry. YouTube says you are my favorite creator this year. I'm in the top 0.1% of your fans, and I watch 130 times more than your average viewer. I love your channel, and you have inspired me to make change in my life next year. Thank you so much for the comment, Joseph. I really appreciate it. That means a hell of a lot that you are continuing to watch this channel, and for everyone who is supported, I can't appreciate you guys enough, because I just feel like we're a step closer to making this a full-time job sometime next year. That is the goal. I just want to make videos for the rest of my life and just connect with you guys as much as possible. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that video on the weekend. I bought this lovely OLED, and I've worked out the VRR thanks to another viewer, so thank you for sorting that out. But this 32-inch OLED is incredible. My gosh, if you do want that, make sure you go back to that video, use my link. That will help me out if you're gonna buy it off Amazon. What an upgrade with this monitor. I'd love to buy the PS5 Pro now, but we better not. Settle down, pay off all the credit cards, and then we'll see what else we can waste our money on. Anyways, I better check up on Els.
All you have to say is that you're non-binary.
Anyway, get out
Oh my god, how is he still employed?